Hello and welcome everyone. You're here with Brothers Forge Gaming, and right here we've got the Chronicles of Mystara on the PlayStation 3. As a download, you get not one, but two amazing classic arcade beat-em-up RPG light style games, and oh my goodness, look at these unlockables you get in there. Did you see that fantastic artwork? Now, a lot of time when you see the name D&D associated with video games, you think it can be hit and miss. Sometimes you expect the world because, you know, it's Dungeons and Dragons, and everybody just knows how amazing and original they are as creators of all this lore we know and love today. But sometimes when that gets translated from pen and paper to the video game industry, it's not always the greatest experience. But although hopes are high, and I can't tell you how many of these games I've tried, how many different D&D games I've tried just hoping for the best, and you know, sometimes you get a good one. And right here is just that. Look at all these unlockables you can do. What I liked here was this house rules. You get some fun cutscene animation, you get a decent backstory, and in beat-em-ups, that's not always the case. So that is one thing I highly enjoy about this game. If you guys have not had a chance to play this in the arcades, if you see it, don't walk by, go play it out. You will not regret it. Though it is much like some of the other similar Capcom style arcade cap beat-em-ups you've seen out there, Knights of the Round. Was that other one? There's one to that. They're rather pricey. They were ported to the SNES. Great games, but as I mentioned, very pricey. And so if you're looking for an alternative to those games and you want to play a very similar game to those, right here is not a bad bet. As I mentioned, this is a download on the PlayStation 3. I want to say you can get it for about 10 bucks, maybe a little more, and if you watch the sales, you can pick it up on a sale, which is always nice. This is one I had my eye on for a while, and I was just waited and was patient. And as you can see, 4 players. That is fantastic. How can you beat it? That is one nice thing about some of these ports as well to the modern consoles, is you get a lot of time on the you know, very early 16-bit and some consoles. A lot of the arcade beat-em-ups that were supposed to be 3-4 players were only 2 players, and you know, just due to the limitations of the system. So you do get those extra players, and that is always a plus. One nice feature about this game as well is that you can level, you can get items, you can increase your inventory. There's a shop between stages and stuff to buy different items. One thing I was a little disappointed in was the shops. They weren't great. I'm sure in the arcade when you're trying to save quarters, you know, they're fantastic because you got to buy life potions and whatnot. But in a game where you don't really have to worry about burning through quarters, you know, it's all free after you buy it. You know, it's a different story, and that's another thing. That's unfortunately one of the things that when you do bring arcade ports home, that's part of the challenge, is getting through the game in as few as quarters as possible. I mean, you can still set limitations to yourself on that. You know, oh, I want to beat this in 1 quarter, or no death run, stuff like that. You know, that is an added feature to the game. But if you just want to casually play the game, you know, you're not going to really think along those lines. So I don't know, I guess the replay value in that sense at the home console comes from the added players. So you can have up to 4 players. So your adventures are always going to be different. Solo grinding this, you know, once you clear the game, maybe unlock a few of the features you were looking to unlock, you might not go back and visit it again for a while, but it is a fantastic game, well worth it. I mean, look at these animations. One thing I have mentioned before is that, you know, we're huge fans of D&D. Our brothers grew up playing original D&D, and by the time, you know, we were aware of it, they were on to the AD&D. So that's where we come from. We used to play back in the day, the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Easy still actually has a cool manual from his brother. If you guys have seen it in his game room tour, it is fantastic. So and I believe there was a time we didn't have a bunch of 3rd edition stuff. We were getting into it for a while. Something we have talked about wanting to do again as well is rolling some characters. I believe one of our buddies has some of the more modern, like I think it might be 5th edition or one of those newer editions of D&D that he's wanting to put together a game night. So that might be fun to check out as well. But for now, we're gonna leave it to the beat 'em ups, and it's always awesome when you get to use the lore of Dungeons and Dragons and play a beat 'em up. Now, I have been playing Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms on the PlayStation 4. It's a free-to-play game, and that also is another Dungeons and Dragons game. Looks like Watsy picked up the IP, though, so it's cool, though, because they have a lot of old characters that you might recognize, people like heroes from Baldur's Gate. You've got Minsk, of course, with Boo, and some of those other, actually just unlocked Drizzt, so that was pretty tight. He's an old-school guy. We actually beat him off the game in Baldur's Gate, the original. I don't know if it made it so we couldn't progress the game, but he had some cool weapons and stuff, so we wanted to kill him and get the XP. That was one of those games. We actually killed too many of the characters, I think, so when we got to the end, it was like the game was broken or something. Or maybe we just didn't know, maybe we didn't do the right quest. But when we got to Baldur's Gate, finally, we had so many problems with that game. It crashed. We lost our saves. I mean, we tried to get through that game so many times. It came down to the point where we just didn't want to grind out the levels again, you know, which is unfortunate because we were right there, right at the gates of Baldur, and we couldn't get in and finish our quest. So maybe one day, games like that, you know, that wouldn't be such a bad thing either. If games, old cool PC games, started getting ports to the newer consoles. That would be really fantastic. I mean, that would be a great game to play. You're starting to see them more anyway with some of the newer Pillars of Eternity games like that. I can't think of the other one. I actually have it. There's a couple of them, and so those are getting ports to consoles. So it might be nice to see some of those old IPs be brought back. I'm not sure if that's something that will ever happen, but that sure would be neat if it did. One thing that is annoying, as you can see, having to go around and pick up each and every coin. It should be a walkover mechanic. That is one thing that is very irritating. Maybe there's a way to do auto loot on that, but if you're like me, you want to pick up all those coins, so it's frustrating not to be able to get them all. And one thing too I did like about this boss here, it's a war machine, kind of reminded me of, you know, Warhammer. Some of these models actually too remind me of models you would see in Warhammer, and that's one thing that I did enjoy about Warhammer, was that it did feel a lot like it was from or based in the D&D lore. A lot of the artwork looked like it was taken straight out of there, or possibly some of the original artists and whatnot of those two were similar or inspired, motivated by each other to make their products. Again, like I mentioned, it's awesome you get to do leveling. It gives you a reason to go back and play these games on harder settings, to play them with friends, to bring your friends in. Reminds you of, you know, a high-level character bringing their friends through their low-level character friends through a high-level dungeon, that kind of thing. Very fun stuff. So if you guys are interested and you want to watch this next run, we're going to check out the Tower of Doom. I do like how you get to make the choices as well. Similar to if you guys have ever played Golden Axe 3, some of those other games, it's cool that you get to pick a way. So it also adds some replay value to the game there, whereas you get to choose alternate paths. But right here, we're going to check out the Tower of Doom. So if you guys want to stick around and watch this playthrough, it's a very similar game, but as you can see, it has a lot less polish. And I don't know, you know what? I think I like the original style game here better, but the other one is a lot easier to play. So for playability reasons, I would say go with the sequel. But this game is also very excellent. Gotta love the grittiness of the original. But alright guys, you've been hanging out with Brothers Forge Gaming. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Found yourself a new game to play for this weekend, or whatever day it may be for you out there in YouTube land. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you on the next run.